Good evening, everybody. This is, I think, the fifth Zen and Zazen class. And I would like to sit a little bit longer each time. So I will try to talk less and less. How about today? Do you have any questions before you start? Is there anything you would like to ask about Zen or Zazen?
今天是我们第四次上课，然后呢，每一次老师都想把坐禅的时间拉长。如果有问题的话，可以提啊，做之前就可以提。
No questions beforehand. If there are no questions from your side, I would like to talk about another koan. Last week it was about Nansen cutting the cat.
如果大家没有问题的话，老师可能他就要提问了。上周我们分享的是南拳斩猫的那一个公案，然后这周我们再分享一个公案。
The koan that I want to talk about today is about an old lady that is burning a hut.
A hut, what is?
A hut, a small house.
今天我们分享那个故事是一个年纪比较大的一个老人，然后他出生在一个小的房间里。
So the story is about an old lady that had been caring for a Buddhist monk for almost 20 years.
这个故事是关于这个老太太她一直有一个佛像，大概20多年。
She had been building this small house and she had been preparing meals every day. And brought these meals to the monk so that the monk could concentrate on his practice and reach enlightenment.
然后他这么多年一直照看，给一个修行的人做饭，然后照顾他，就是帮助他，给他有一个好像修行的一个人。
And after 20 years, she wanted to test that monk. How far his practice has got.
20年之后呢，他想要测试这个和尚，就是一直修行的这个，他在帮助修行的这个和尚，到底他的水平有多高。
So she decided to ask her granddaughter to bring the food to the monk. And when the monk would get the food, when the granddaughter would give the food to the monk, she said, you should whisper some sweet words into his ears. So basically, the idea was that the granddaughter should try to seduce the monk.
然后这个老太太呢，她就想测试这个和尚到底的修行有多高，她就让她的孙女去代替他去送饭。其实然后并且告诉她的孙女，你再给她就是递餐的时候呢，说一点甜言蜜语，想使用美容计勾引他，想测验他，看他的水平怎么样。
So basically, they wanted to test him and see what happens. And when the granddaughter brought the food to the monk and gave him the food, and then she tried to seduce him, the monk was not impressed at all.
然后当这个他的孙女，然后拿着饭就去给他送饭了，在给他递饭的时候，他就试图勾引这个小和尚。这个20年跟老和尚了嘛，试图勾引这个和尚，然后这个和尚当然没有被他吸引，什么也没表现。
The monk basically said, what you're trying to do is in the middle of winter, there's this old pine tree that's sitting on a rock, but it's almost dry now. And you're trying to bring this pine tree to blossom. There's no way to bring me to blossom. There's no way you can seduce me. So basically, the monk was saying that maybe because of his spiritual practice and also because of his maybe advanced age, he had already overcome his desires and there was no way to possibly seduce him.
然后这个老和尚说，因为他就像冬天里面的松树一样，你想要就是勾引他的这个小孙女儿，他就是那个想要冬天里的松树开花一样是不可能的。而且这个和尚经过20年的修炼，他已经变成老和尚了，他已经没有想要再犯罪的能力了，所以根本就不可能勾引他。
And when the granddaughter returned to the old lady and told her what happened, the old lady got very angry and set that house on fire. So basically, she set the house on fire and chased the monk out.
然后这个小孙女儿回去之后，告诉就是这个老太太说，她没有上钩，然后就告诉她发生了什么事儿啊，然后她没有上钩，然后就是那个也没有被我吸引，然后这个老太太就生气了，一生气就把她的房子给烧了，然后把那老和尚给轰出去了。
So the point of this story is, what did the monk do wrong? He was a monk, and today in Japan, many monks start a family, they eventually marry. But that's relatively new. In all other Asian countries, and also in Japan 200 years ago, it was unthinkable that a monk would have a relationship with a woman. So the monk did nothing wrong. And I doubt that the lady expected the monk to have a relationship with her daughter. That cannot be what she wished to happen. So what was wrong with the answer of the monk who said, you cannot seduce me, I'm like a dry pine tree. There's no flowers growing on this rock. What did the monk do wrong, or how would you have reacted? What would your answer have been if you had been in the position of the monk?
老师这个问题就是这个和尚到底犯了什么错误？为什么这个和尚到底犯了什么错误呢？因为在现代社会，你看，其实日本的和尚是可以结婚的，然后可以成家结婚生小孩，但是传统的和尚是不能够结婚的。这个和尚他说他是一个像冬天里面已经干燥的松树一样，是不可能开花的。然后他到底犯了什么错误呢？使得这个老太太她把她的房子给烧了。然后如果你是这个和尚的话，你会怎么样呢？老师提的问题。
Does any one of you have an idea? Liat, what would you have done?
I think she did nothing wrong because he is now, she wanted to know if he is a monk, and he is a monk, and he doesn't need anymore the place where he got food and shelter and everything. He's a monk. He can start his life.
I see. So she told him, now you can walk on your own 2 feet. You're ready to live on your own. That's also an interesting idea. Do you have any other ideas? Aiko, you have an idea?
Yes. Well, probably as the monk, I would have said something like, oh, thank you, that's very kind of you to the young lady, but I'm sorry, I cannot do it because I'm a monk and I made my vows, or something like that. And yeah, well, if she's really pretty, I could have said, oh, well, maybe next year, or okay, but I think as a monk, I probably would have said, thank you, that's very kind, but I'm sorry. But I wouldn't have said something like that I'm a dry pine tree. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Maybe something in this line, like he didn't show understanding of her, like compassion or understanding of what she's coming with. It's he doesn't have to start to be lover with her, but you know, he's at this moment with this situation with her, so he should really see her. And also his response is a bit like defensive, that I don't know, like he's escaping to his practice, which is okay-ish, but maybe not the complete mature reaction after many years. I don't know, something like this.
I think you raised an important point. Probably this monk, after 20 years of practice, he was really good at meditating, and maybe he had a number of enlightenment experiences already. But one point in this koan is the question, well, with what kind of, how do you say, intention, or with what expectation did the old lady for 20 years care for this monk? What did she have in mind, or why did she 20 years care for this monk? And what was her idea when she sent the granddaughter there? And the response of the monk was basically, I don't have any more desires. I have no desire for you as a girl. I'm completely content. I reached everything that I can possibly wish for. So basically the monk is saying, I've attained nirvana. You cannot get me out of my nirvana state anymore. But that is not enough in this situation. That's not enough. Just as Stepan has said, what about the girl and what about the old lady? What could they want? What is their problem? How can my practice on the cushion translate into something in their life? So, yeah, in a way you could say it's defensive. You say, well, you might have your problems, but they are not my problems. I don't have any problems anymore. But that's not enough of an answer, especially when we remember that Zen is part of Mahayana Buddhism. But now I'm talking all the time. Xuan, maybe you want to translate at least part of what I'm saying here.
Okay, 就是这个和尚他修炼了20年，一直打坐，肯定特别有定力禅定哈，他一直打坐，没有受到这个就是小孙女的勾引。但是就是这个老太太她送她这个小孙女去是什么目的？然后她20年都在帮助这个和尚修行，帮他做饭，帮他打点。然后呢到底他是什么目的？还说什么了啊？有点记不住了。然后还有就是20年都在他那，他是出于什么原因一直在帮助这个和尚？Okay, I can't remember everything, but it's okay.
So Zen is part of Mahayana Buddhism. So that means it's not only about your own liberation and that you reach nirvana for yourself, but you also have to be willing to get out of this nirvana state and share the suffering of other people, or kind of ask yourself, well, what question, what problem might this person have, even if it's not your own problem.
Zazen 就是坐禅是属于大乘佛教，然后大乘佛教是你要有跟别人同样的感受，然后说这个老和尚他给这个答案的时候就说他是一个什么松树哈，冬天里的松树，这个答案的时候可能没有体会到这个老妇人的感受，所以导致他最后老妇人就是 把他房子烧了，导致这个结果。它是属于大乘佛教，然后nirvana，Chris how to say it？应该是涅槃，好像是，应该是涅槃。对，那个他是自己涅槃重生，然后才能到达那个涅槃你要到达涅槃重生的目的。老师刚才好讲的，nirvana涅槃。
I can give you the Japanese characters here.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I was right. 涅槃 yes. It's the same kanji in Chinese.
At the beginning of Zen practice, it's very important to keep in mind that it's your practice. You are the one who has to get on the cushion. You have to know why you're doing this. And maybe when you sit for 30 minutes or a whole hour, you ask yourself, why am I doing this? But nobody can answer the question but yourself. It's your practice, and you don't do it for anybody but for yourself.
我们在刚开始坐禅的时候，特别是初学者，一开始就是应该知道练习是自己的练习。你可能坐在那个就是你的垫子上边，30分钟，你就会问自己，我为什么要坐在这儿？我为什么要让自己坐在这么艰苦的垫子上面坐禅？没有人能够回答问题，只有你自己。所以从一开始也就要知道，练习是你的练习，别人都回答不了这个问题。
But then at one point, it's also important to realize there's the opposite side of this. And the opposite side means it's not about you. Zazen is not about you. And you don't count at all. When you get off the cushion, when you get back into normal life, if you cannot address the problems of other people, and for example, if you have a family, be a better father or be a better mother, or if you're at work, maybe become a more kind colleague to work with, then probably something is wrong with your practice.
相反的，你也要从反面来考虑这个问题。坐禅并不是为了你自己而坐禅，因为如果你在现实生活当中不能够解决别人的问题，说明你的练习出了问题，就是你的练习是有问题的。比如你不能做一个好的父亲或者好的母亲，解决你家里的问题；你不能是一个好的员工，解决你工作上的问题。你如果不能够帮助别人，这就说明了你自己的练习有什么存在了什么没有，就是你的练习是有问题的。
Sometimes it happens then that when we have problems in the family or we have problems at the workplace, we look for some practice like Zen or maybe yoga as a kind of escape route. When I'm practicing on the cushion or on the map, then I don't have to address these problems. But that's not a good way to practice. Our practice should not be an escape from our life, but rather we have to also come back to life and then address these problems.
就是有一些人他可能在生活当中有了各种各样的问题或者是工作当中，所以他选择一种修行来逃避，比如说是坐禅或者是练瑜伽。但是这并不是我们应该开始练习的一个方式。我们应该要面对正常的生活，然后以练习来帮助生活。练习不是你逃避现实生活的一个方法。
Even if, like in the case of these stories, maybe these problems are not even our problems. Maybe they are somebody else's problems. But the attitude of a Mahayana Buddhist would be to say, even if it's not my problem, if it's a problem for you, then it's also a problem for me.
就像我们今天分享的这个故事一样，虽然不是我们自己的一个自己亲身经历的一个故事，就是你自己身上的一个问题，但是应该把它以大乘佛教的这个想法，就是应该是把别人的问题也当成自己的问题。他有别人有的困难，就是自己有的困难，应该有这种意识和想法。
So in the case of this koan, there's no perfect answer, or no answer like which would be the correct answer, but at least the monk could, for example, ask the girl, well, what is your real question? What's your real question? Why do you come here? What do you want from me? You don't really want to go in bed with me. So what do you want to hear from me?
然后就像这个和尚beginning 这个和尚就是那个小姑娘其实the first begin I forgot the first what do you start how you start然后就是好像那个和尚他要问那个小姑娘一样，就是你来我这儿，你是什么出于什么目的？你其实并不想和我，就是不想和我真的睡觉，但是呢，你抛出了这个问题，你到底是什么目的？其实也是他要也要就是像刚才我们说的，别人的问题就是自己的问题嘛，所以这个故事里面的这个老和尚呢，也是要想到这个小姑娘到底来是什么目的？他其实可以去问他，到底你这么做是出于什么目的，是为了什么
Okay, maybe that's enough story time for today, Koan time. If you have any questions before we start with the sitting, please feel free to ask anything you would like to ask.
大家还有什么问题吗？今天分享这个公案，或者是你有其他的问题也可以提。
Aiko, please.
So the sitting practice is a little bit like it's all about kindness and about acceptance of whatever comes to you. Can I say it like that? That's a part, a big part maybe of the sitting practice, to be a more kind person and an accepting person to yourself and to others.
Yeah, you could say it's about accepting or letting go. And letting go and accepting are basically the same thing. Some people say letting go means to throw something away, and accepting means to make it your own. But letting go and accepting are more or less the same thing, to accept life as it is. And often when you can do that, when it happens that you completely let go and accept things as they are, you realize everything is okay as it is. Nothing was missing. I always thought I have to find happiness tomorrow or in a year or two. I need to get my enlightenment to be a really happy person. But then you let go and you realize nothing was missing right from the start. And in that moment, you feel usually grateful. Especially, usually it doesn't happen, you don't make this. When you let go, you don't make this. It happens and then you realize, wow, nothing was missing. So you feel grateful for that, and I think that connects also to the kindness. I have to give something back. I received this gift from the universe, or who knows from where. I have to give a little bit back. So I think that translates into this kindness. And when somebody comes and they seem to have a problem, you don't just sit on your cushion and say, what are you talking about? There's no problem in the universe. Everything is fine as it is, isn't it? But you also listen to that person and their problems.
刚才这个朋友就是讲，那坐禅是不是就为了让自己变成一个更好的人呢？让自己变得更加善良？然后老师说，其实就是放手 ，let it，英语叫 let it go， 放手和接受。其实有些人说放手和接受是一个意思，放手就是让这个事情随它而去，自然而然。接受就是也是接实现在这个就是到底它什么样的，你就全盘接受。其实哪个都可以，因为你当你发现你在放手的时候，你其实从一开始什么也没有失去。 从一开始就是应该是这样的。所以当然，在你决定放手的时候，你其实就会让你变成一个慢慢的你获利了之后就想要帮助别人，然后这个就和刚才我们说要变成一个更好的人、更善良又联系在一块儿了。刚老师是这个意思。
Do you have any other questions? Anything else before we start with the sitting? If not, I would say let's start. Today we should have 20 minutes or so we can sit together. So let's prepare.
就刚才老师还说，如果有人向你求助的话，你并不是坐在垫子上面什么也不管他，就是让这个世界这个事情就是这样的，你还是应该要帮助别人啊。刚才老师还有这一句，然后我们现在开始打坐，准备一下。
Thank you, everyone. We still might have some time for questions if you have any. Sebastian, please.
Yes. In the beginning, you told us a lot about this koan. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, it's this koan, and you showed us how to approach it and suggested solutions. Would it be okay for me now to come up with a further interpretation?
Yes, please.
Okay, so all in all, I would assume when the story started, yeah, the old woman was not that old, yeah. The monk was not old, he was young and handsome and I don't know, promising and as young people are. And she knew she had a little granddaughter and made up her plans, disregarding the power of time. She just ignored how things could develop and could change. And yeah, disregarded that obviously the monk grew older and adults have their own mind and so on. Yeah. And in the end, she realized her mistake and set the house into fire in, say, disappointment. Yeah. Could you, I don't know, you said there is no proper solution, or but on the other hand, I suppose there are, I don't know. Could you live with that interpretation?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting, yeah. I don't know if that's the background of the story, but yeah, you can interpret it in a lot of ways. So why not? Yes.
You said it. Can I resume? You said there are several ways to come to solutions or different solutions in the end. So how do you deal with them? Do you, I don't know, weigh them or think about the most proper one, or do you just think of them as different aspects of the story, or how do you deal with the fact that there are different, I don't know, solutions?
How do you deal with that? With most of these koans, there's different persons appearing, and one thing you should do is you should put yourself into each of these persons' shoes. For example, there's a famous koan. There's somebody who's hanging with his teeth on a branch in a tree, and he can't use his hands. So he's hanging in this tree, and there's a person at the bottom of the tree and says, "Please teach me Zen. Please teach me Zen and help me with my life." And this person is hanging in the tree, so if he opens his mouth, he will fall and lose his life. On the other hand, he also wants to help the person at the bottom of the tree. And in the case of that koan, you have to, well, ask yourself, what would I be doing if I'm hanging in the tree and I'm biting on this branch? But you can also ask yourself, what would I be standing at the bottom of the tree? Or maybe you could even ask yourself, how would it feel to be a tree and there's somebody hanging from a branch? What would you do in the position of the tree? And of course, in all of these positions, rather than think about it in a theoretical way, maybe the old lady means this and maybe it was like that. Rather, you have to see in your own life. Maybe this situation that I'm facing at my workplace is just like this koan, or maybe in this problem I have in my family, maybe it's just like this. And maybe sometimes I'm the old lady, sometimes I'm the monk, but the problem is always, what do you do now in your life, in the position which you are, rather than think about this as some kind of theoretical thought experiment. So you have to be the old lady and the granddaughter and the monk all in one, so to speak.
And last point from my end is, I mean, I don't know, maybe that's not very meaningful, yeah, is that in the end, the idea to take that koan with me when I'm sitting, that I'm then enabled to find myself in different positions which are described in the koan. To be honest, I'm a bit puzzled. On the one hand, I'm expected to let everything go, yeah. Don't think, at least not in a way I'm used to think. On the other hand, I assume it's a proper way to deal with the koan while sitting. But I don't know if this is the right understanding. Yeah?
Well, if you're training in the Rinzai tradition and you have a teacher who gives you a koan, then probably also during the sitting you focus on this koan. But I mean, we don't systematically work with koans here. So if you're participating in this Monday Zazen, I would say during Zazen, forget about the koan. Today and last week I talked about the koan. I probably will do it in the future as well. But that's not something kind of that you're supposed to think about during Zazen, and then at the end, at 8:50, you give me the answer. But rather, it's something that maybe is useful in your life, but it's not something that you're supposed to think about during Zazen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
老师，我要提一个问题。
She want to ask a question.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
我就说中文了，待会轩轩你帮我翻译啊。
好。
那个我想问一下，就是当我们坐在垫子上坐禅的时候，需不需要有个目的性？比如说，我希望做完之后，我的身体、我的内心处于一个什么样的状态比较好？希望老师，就你有那么多年的经验，能够跟我们分享一下，什么样的状态才是我们做完以后比较好的状态，或者说干脆就是没有什么目的性，就是坐在那儿。
Her question is, what's the purpose to sitting on Zazen? Is that to make you feel better? What's the attitude during Zazen? After Zazen, the purpose is to make you feel better, to have better attitude or something.
或者说坐在那儿。
应该是没有目的，应该等着来啊。She want to ask this question.
So the textbook answer to the question is there is no purpose in doing Zazen.
就是在书里写的是我们坐禅应该是没有什么目的。
那我为什么要坐在这儿呢？
Yeah, why we have to sit there?
Yeah, exactly. That's the question. The next question: if it's good for nothing, we often say Zazen is good for nothing, and then the next question is then of course, well, why do it anyway? Why do it anyway? And I could give you an answer, but kind of the koan is rather than, well, why do you sit? It's not that I can tell you why you should practice, but rather when you sit, that should be your question. What am I doing here? It's good for nothing, but why am I still sitting?
当然老师可以给你一个答案，因为一开始就是说那个坐禅是没有目的的，肯定下一个问题就是紧跟着问题就是为什么我要坐在这儿。当提出这个问题的时候，老师给一个问题，当然他可以回答，但是其实应该是你问你自己，我为什么要坐在这儿，然后为什么要开始坐禅，应该是自己给自己要解决的一个问题。
Maybe I can say just a little bit. I think most of our lives we do things that are good for something. For example, we go to school, before that we go to kindergarten, and we learn so we can get to a better school, and finally we go to university. So we always learn to go to a better school. Why do we go to university? To get a good job. Why do we get a job? To earn money. And then we take a holiday. Why do we take a holiday? So that we can rest and maybe enjoy ourselves and we feel better. And then we get back to work. And maybe one day we find a promising partner and we marry and have kids. And then we send those to school so that they can study and find a job and have a family. And it's all good for something. But we never really live our lives right now because we forget to do something that's good for nothing. And just being here right now is good for nothing. But most of our lives we forget that. We always do something that's good for something and we never really live.
然后因为在我们生活当中，要不然老师说他可以回答一下，就是简单的说一下，因为在我们日常的生活当中，我们所有基本上做的大部分事情都是为了什么目的而做。像我们小的时候上学，然后为了上好的学校，好的学校毕业以后要找到好的工作，要有好的薪水，然后以后遇到一个你可能觉得能够陪伴自己一生的人，然后结婚生子，再送小朋友上学。就我们基本上做的所有的事情都是有目的性的，可能你忘了现实生活当中做一个事情是没有目的的，就是现在，你在现在真正投入到现在这个时刻的时候是没有目的的。我们一直在有目的的做什么事情，反而忘了当你没有什么目的做什么事情的时候，才是真正的你现在应该要做的事情。
So Zazen is an opportunity to get out of this circle. I always want to do something that's good for something. I want to feel better. I want to be loved. I want, for example, on NSS, I want people to give me a thumb up and I want to be liked. I want to have more friends. And Zazen is maybe, well, the only time when you can let go of that. You quit the game and you just be here. And sometimes you realize that's enough. It's a mystery. It's a big present that I can be here right now. And I don't have to do anything more than that. I can just be.
因为我们一直是在这个不同的循环的这个圈儿，做什么事情为了什么，做什么是为了什么，做了什么做这个事情是为了那个，做这个是为了那个，一直是在为了什么而做什么事情。当你真的停下来，停止这个游戏的时候，在真正坐禅的时候，你发现啊，其实什么都不用做，其实我现在就够了，我有现在就够了，根本不用玩这个游戏，不用一直是为了什么而做什么事情，而是为了现在而做现在的事情。打破这个游戏，你真正看就是坐禅的时候，其实是让你从这个游戏上边退出来，退出这个一直在循环的这个游戏，看到现在，看到我其实我什么都不应，其实我不用为了什么而做什么，只是做什么就做什么就够了。
Thank you.
Okay, in Europe it's already again after lunch break. Here in Japan it's 9:05. Do you still have questions? If yes, yeah, there is one more question from Sumi-san, I think.
Sorry about the lighting, a bit dark, but from answering I can't read her name, but like her question, like, is it okay to feel appreciative to like me alive right now during Zazen? Like, it's okay, like creating and appreciating like things like this. Is it okay to feel like that during Zazen?
It's okay to feel any way. How do you say, like when you feel a special way in Zazen, it's never not okay to feel that way. Like if you feel happy during Zazen, that's okay. If you feel totally bored during Zazen, that's also okay. If you feel sleepy, if you feel depressed during Zazen, that's okay, because that's the way Zazen is in that moment. So you don't have to try to kind of produce a certain feeling. I'm supposed to feel like this during Zazen. You're not supposed to be anyway. Zazen is always the Zazen on that day, in that moment. And there's no good Zazen and bad Zazen. There's no comparison possible.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
刚才他提的那个问题，就是在坐禅的时候，我们应该有什么感觉？就是是应该有好快乐的感觉，还是什么？就他说你是应该有什么感觉？但是刚才老师说，其实你不应该制造什么感觉，应该就是坐禅的时候，很辛苦，就是很辛苦。然后你觉得坐禅时间过得很快，或者是你觉得很轻松、很犯困，就是应该是这样的。因为每一天坐下来的感受都不一样，没有好的打坐和不好的打坐，只有现在的打坐啊，所以你不应该是制造什么感觉，就是你打坐的时候应该有什么态度，应该有什么感觉，应该是只是当时这个状态就很好了，就是当时的状态，那个就是在坐禅。
Any other questions or comments? Hi, there's Joseph. Joseph, please.
Hi, yes. I wondered if I could ask something about an answer you gave last week, where you talked about giving yourself unconditionally, and you also used the phrase "dying on the cushion," and these are sometimes quite kind of like extreme language, and I wonder if you could say like, how do you have like the faith or the confidence to do that, sort of thinking that way? Does that make sense?
Well, dying on the cushion sounds pretty extreme. A little, how do you say, less extreme expression would be what we just said, like accepting, total acceptance, or totally letting go. But it's not so easy, and at least from my side, from my experience, it's sometimes so difficult that it actually feels like, oh, you need to die, or so in this moment, well, basically you're asking yourself, what am I doing here, and why don't I get just off the cushion and do something that's more enjoyable? Why don't I just enjoy my life, or spend times with my friends, or just switch on the TV and watch TV? It might be boring, but it's still more interesting than just looking at the wall. And in that moment, you somehow need to have this conviction, whatever I'm gonna do, watch TV or enjoy myself with my friends, go to the bar, it's not gonna satisfy me. At the end of the day, I'm not gonna be satisfied. And I don't know if Zazen will be good for anything, but if everything else is no solution, I will just keep sitting here. And even if it feels like this is killing me. And for some reason, in my case, I felt none of the other options will work. I'm not sure if Zazen will work, but I was quite sure that none of the other options were worth pursuing. So at one point, I just gave it a try, and well, I just accepted my situation as it is, which meant I let go of this impulse to get off the cushion and run away. And in my case, then I realized, wow, what I've been looking for, it was always here. There's nothing missing. There's nothing missing in the first place. But you have to totally let go first.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. And it's not easy, but well, probably sooner or later you get to that point, and either you run away or at one point you totally let go.
刚才这个朋友他提到，因为之前老师就说过，他说你要死在就是打坐的那个垫子上面，你要死在自己的垫子上面。那这个是特别难的，你要死在上面。老师是怎么能有这种就是提出来这个想法，或者你怎么理解他的呢？ 然后老师说，其实就是我们在做的上面的时候呢，你可能觉得特别无聊，那为什么我不去哪怕拿着那个遥控器看看电视、调调台，或者是跟朋友约会，然后干点有意义的事情？为什么我要对着墙那么无聊？其实你会发现什么都满足不了你，什么都满足不了你的欲望，没有尽头，因为你只有让所有的事情都放手，都放弃所有的事情，你才能看到现在。只有你真正放手的时候，你才知道啊，其实我要的从头开始就没有就是我没有失去我想要的东西。我虽然放手了，但是其实你想要的还是这个。你只有全部都放弃的时候，你才能看到原来我需要的什么都没有，只是现在就够了。然后确实是很有挑战哈，就是说你早晚会有这种体会，要么你就是停止了坐禅，你觉得你可能接受不了这个，理解不了，或者是你就像那个涅槃重生，你就完全能理解。要看老师的。
Do you have any other questions? Aiko, please.
Today, not a question, but a small comment. Today, during Zazen, I noticed that I am like the shepherd, or that Zazen was like the shepherd sitting under a tree and like taking a break from all the stuff, whatever. And then the sheep started coming and disturbing the shepherd. And usually I'm like, go away, leave me alone. But today I tried to say, yeah, what do you want from me? Why do you ask me? And I was trying to listen to them. And my system, my thinking, whatever, my whole system, it doesn't know what to do with it. It's because it's kind of a new experience that suddenly the sheep are being welcomed. So, but I will try this more often, I guess. It's interesting, and but still there's the shepherd, and one day, maybe in 10 years, there will be no more shepherd. I don't know, but anyway, you say there is no shepherd from the beginning. There is no self, right? But anyway, be that as it may, just a comment that I tried to turn it around with my thoughts. Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, I sometimes say in German you say schick den Schäfer in den Urlaub. What would you say in English? Give the shepherd a break. But what you said right now, it's totally okay to leave the sheep and also leave the shepherd. Allow the sheep to come to you, but also allow the shepherd to still be there. You don't have to eliminate the shepherd. Just as the shepherd doesn't need to control the sheep. But if there's still this part of you that wants to play the shepherd, let it be, but also allow the sheep to come to you, to use this metaphor.
Okay, thank you.
刚才那个朋友他其实分享了一下今天坐禅的感受，就是之前老师说过那个羊的那个故事，就是黑羊还有白羊，然后还有就是放羊的人，然后他今天就觉得其实突然感觉这些羊其实是欢迎他们来的。他今天觉得好像让这些想法在坐禅的时候走过，是和之前有不一样的感受。然后老师说，确实是你应该就是不要管这些羊，同时也不要管这个牧羊的人，就是让两个都让这两个角色都在那儿，不要有任何的想要控制的想法，基本上是这个意思哈。
Stepan, last question, please. Stepan, and now you're muted. You have to unmute yourself.
Yes, sorry. It's also okay to put it to some other time. It's like a question which is like a longer topic in my head. It's the comparison of the intensity of the practice. I knew you practice in Aintenji. I knew like it's very intense practice, at least seems to me, like in my imagination, like for in ordinary day to have 4 days of sitting and then walk all day. And the sessions are very, the sessions I see in Europe, I never met so strict session as described in the schedule. And I don't know, there is this feeling in my of disparity what I'm doing compared to this very strict training, at least seems to me strict. And I don't know, and part of me would like to, okay, let's try more and practice more, and but the bar is very high. I can't imagine with my, I can go to session, but otherwise, I don't know. So part of me is saying, okay, what I'm doing is not good enough, or part of me tries, okay, let's try harder. And
well, the question is simply, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? You don't have to compare yourself. Like if you went to Antaiji and still you compare Antaiji to some other place, you're never really practicing where you are. So it's not about comparison. It's about doing whatever you want to do. So if what you're doing right now is not enough for you, then do more. If you think it's already enough, then just do that. But stop comparing. Stop comparing. And if you're not satisfied with what you're doing, then change it. If you think that you want to go to Antaiji, okay, then prepare for going to Antaiji. And if you fulfill the conditions, then go there. But if you say, I don't want to do that, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it. And first of all, well, stop comparing. Stop comparing. Live your life. Only you can live your life, and you cannot live somebody else's lives. You cannot live my life, and I cannot live your life, but that's not necessary. You don't have to do my practice, and I cannot do your practice for you.
Thanks.
Please translate it.
刚才这个朋友就说，你看，就是我们才做了20分钟，然后和安胎记和安胎4的那个练习相比，他们每天要做4个小时，早上2个小时，晚上2个小时，那我们就是等于就跟他们比，简直差太远了，和没练一样。那我到底有的时候我觉得我应该多练一会儿。因为你看他们那么长的时间，就是每天那么长时间练习，而我才做这么长时间。但是从另外一个角度讲的啊，好像我也做不了那么长时间，就一直是我应该怎么办？然后刚才老师就说，其实练习是没有比较的，因为谁也代替不了你的练习，你也代替不了别人的练习，你的练习就是你的练习。首先第一个不能比较，然后第二个你要知道你到底是什么，你到底想要干嘛？你是想多练一会儿呢，还是想要少练一会儿？你要自己能找到这个答案，是你的练习。然后不要，因为如果你现在觉得自己练得少，然后你去了安泰寺，到了安泰寺之后呢，还有其他的一些寺庙可能比安泰寺还要强度还要大，就是永远没有尽头。所以不要比较，比较是没有意义的，要看到自己到底是什么目的，自己想要什么。基本是这个意思啊。
Maybe next time we should sit first and have the story later and the discussion later. It seems that you become much more talkative after the Zazen. Well, today it's already 9:20 here in Japan, 30 minutes later than we planned. So I want to end today, but next week we're gonna be here again, same time, same place, and I'll be happy to sit with you again, and we can talk about Zen, or maybe one of those days I can also talk about these books I have here, Culture Comparison. So I wish you a nice remaining Monday, and if you like, I'd be happy to see you again next week. And thank you for Xuan for having us all here and for translating.
Thanks for coming. Please donate Muho. You don't have to donate every class. Maybe you can donate every month or every two classes or something. Anything will help us to continue our class. Thank you.
Thank you very much. and see you again.